All right. Now, I'm calling for a meeting really early this morning, which I haven't done in a long time. Move that out of the way here. Okay, so, for those of you, excuse me. For those of you watching on the overhead up there, welcome. For those of you in here, welcome. All right, so today, what we have going on is quite a couple of things. Now, the first thing happening today, the really important thing, the really big news is today is the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94th birthday of Patricia Routledge. And, you know, this person in particular is very significant and very famous, and I've known of her a long time, and she has come to my Amenten before in the past. And if you don't know who she is, she played in the Britcom, the British comedy, Keeping Up Appearances on PBS, which is the show about this narcissist of a woman, Hyacinth Bouquet. It isn't that hard to remember her name, but a huge part of that show is her name is spelled B-U-C-K-E-T. So what does that spell? Bucket, right? But consider it almost taboo and consider it a curse word when you're around Hyacinth, because she wants it pronounced bouquet, because after all it's more elegant of a name, and she wants to keep up appearances. And she is Leo on steroids, if you had to really stereotype and put Leo in a box. And Leo and Aquarius are two signs you certainly cannot put in a box. Particularly Aquarius. The only box that you can put Aquarius in is stand out against everyone, which is, I mean, that could go a number of different ways. But Leo's a difficult sign to define, and I'd really like to get deep into it. I think Leo's a sign that I don't feel like there's as much information. I feel like I know the least about. And that wouldn't be the most surprising, since I don't have any Leo in my chart. And Patricia Routledge is not a Leo sun. She is an Aquarius sun. But Aquarians are really open-minded people. It's about being open-minded. It's about sort of playing characters and playing roles. And you can do that really well with Aquarius and a lot of energy in your chart, because there's a humor and there's a acting quality to Aquarius that's really special and remarkable. So Aquarius, you know, she is an Aquarius sun and a Gemini moon. So she has a double air thing going on with her sun in Aquarius, Gemini moon, and the moon in Gemini is about feeling like you need to talk, and like you need stimulus and information and something to keep you going and occupy you. There is a need to change it up. There is a need to communicate with the moon and Gemini, and to get out and about. There's a lot of thoughts going on in terms of your mental mind and intellect, so that could be something there with that too. And, the other really important thing is that she also has, she was also born, I was looking at her chart, we can go through the whole analysis of it. She was born under the same Mercury retrograde that we had just 2 years prior to this year, of which I did not record my Amenten meetings at that time. I went a whole almost 2-year period of not recording any Amenten meetings, and for those of you who remember, it was just a screen and it was just a meeting live, and other people recorded it. I did not record it. So, that's what I'll say about that. And now I'm recording these meetings now. So, she was born under Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, which is really interesting because Mercury is reflective. It's a time to go inside ourselves and go inward. Especially with Mercury retrograde, dealing with things like communication and, relationships, in a way, contracts, any kind of mercurial kind of matter. And in Aquarius, it deals with our forward thinking of where we want to go, technology or groups or social networks. And it's a time when communication and technology and messaging systems, and it's a time where the communications and systems and means of communication could go especially wonky, more sort of wonkier than other retrogrades, because Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, and the Mercury retrograde is the most powerful retrograde there is, and when Mercury retrograde is going backwards in a sign of exaltation, then it would be more detrimental to us anyway. So, that year, 2 years ago of 2021, was ruled by Mercury, because it was a 5-year, and 5 in numerology is ruled by Mercury, so there's a communicative Mercury ruled energy there, and Mercury went retrograde in all the earth signs in that year. So, yeah. So, it happened up until from mid-February, it went direct, and then from January 30th, I think that's when Mercury went retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. But it is her birthday. What's going to be going on to pay homage to her is later today at 7 o'clock this evening in the theater here. There is going to be an episode of, there's actually going to be a couple of things going on. So, at 2 p.m. today, there's going to be an episode of the show Hetty Wainthropp Investigates, which is another show that she played, where she was playing this detective who had an assistant that worked with her, who was not an engine that flew so fast, and he knocked the balls down, and he is not made up. He was a real character in that context. Because, with Jeffrey, that's a name that carries a meaning of, you really have to be careful. And you really have to be clear if you're making this person up who has this name, or if it's a real person, because it can get made up. So Jeffrey, that's the associate's name, is very young, and also, she was solving these mysteries, these detective mysteries throughout the show, plays the case at the very beginning, rolls through the credits, and gets into it, where they're going to the case and then solving, investigating it. But so, yeah, that's something going on, in terms of that, show that will be played. And then there will be one of my favorite episodes of the show, Keeping Up Appearances, and that'll be played, this evening at 7 o'clock, and that is when when Hyacinth is, trying to find a new kitchen, and there's something that happens near the end that is, revealing and says a lot, and I won't tell you, about that. So, that issue is sort of prevalent at the beginning, and then it sort of gets into other issues. And the episode also involves a health issue that Hyacinth is feeling, ashamed about someone, revealing, and so she sort of wants to turn that around and flip it on its head so that it's more presentable, and more, higher class than it would otherwise be. With medical stuff, it's no joke. It is what it is, but even so. There's some really, dramatic things that happen towards the end of the episode. And the whole idea is that she is living with her husband in this, bungalow, trying to, maintain appearances. She puts on candlelight suppers, which are these celebrations where people come and they, it's supper by candlelight, and she entertains with music and cocktails and invites guests and all this kind of thing. And that's not only that, but she, also there's a lot of catchphrases in the show. She also has, a neighbor that comes really frequently to coffee sessions, not, I'm inviting you to coffee. And there's something that goes on with that. And so she lives with her husband in this bungalow. And then there's also this other neighbor, so two of her sisters, along with her brother-in-law, who is married to one of her sisters. And it's so funny that one of the sisters' names rhymes with the word lazy, because that really describes her in, a lot of different ways, especially her husband, and you might see that in this show. So there's this other house, where, Hyacinth's sister, two sisters, there's two sisters, one of them is married to Hyacinth's brother-in-law, and two of them are kind of slobs in a way where they, just sit around, eat, watch TV, don't give a darn about, stuff, stay in bed, and it's sort of a rundown neighborhood, with an old TV that you have to literally bang to, turn on. They'd sit around, and eat, and at least, I'll just say her name, Daisy in the show, at least she reads, whereas, well, they both read, but, that gets too, detailed. But you're gonna see that. You're gonna see the contrast between the two different, environments. And then Hyacinth also has another sister, which she really puts on a higher pedestal, because of where she lives and what she has and what she can, afford in her wealth and prestige. So, it's a really funny show. Um, it's really comical. It's a little over the top. Um, and yeah. So, I think that will be, really fun to look forward to. You do know that you have a couple assignments that are due on February 18th, which which I have this stuff on my page about. Obviously know what those assignments are that you need to do. I think, yeah. One of them is that email about the past astrology video, um, with the link and then the explanation about it, and all that's on my page as well. Also, the general astrology video, where you're finding a video about a general topic in astrology, like the nodes in this sign, or what does Saturn in Pisces mean for the natal chart. That's what I'll do. So I'll do one as well on Saturn in Pisces, because that's something I've been very interested in lately, especially since Saturn's going to move into Pisces, and I see Saturn in Pisces moving in when Saturn in Pisces moves in. When Saturn ingresses into Pisces, it's going to probably feel a lot like the beginning of the end, because Saturn's completing a whole 28 to 29 to 30 year cycle. It's coming back to Pisces, and it feels like the beginning of the end. I'm really drawn to that, way of explaining it. And there's a building that comes to my mind with Saturn into Pisces. It's a white building. It's a really tall white building where I used to go to talk with a therapist, whose name was Kim Comer, who probably was born between 1964 through 66, who probably has Saturn in Pisces. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because Saturn in Pisces can find a lot of meaning in helping people in the spiritual field of, compassion and soothing, being there for people, helping them, healing them. It's very empathic. Although something else about Saturn in Pisces is healthy boundaries need to be drawn, because Saturn is boundaries. And that also goes for water. When I was watching Pam Griger the other day, apparently when Saturn moves into Pisces, there may be more boundaries when it comes to water, just, in terms of dams and stuff like that. Underwater cities, restaurants on the water, those kind of things. If you've ever heard of the Channel Tunnel that was built in a previous Saturn in Pisces, then, that may be something that we're going to see on that time, and I just want to quote her on that. It'll probably feel like the beginning of the end, so, doing an email, as I said before, on the, with the link, then your explanation over the past astrology video and all the, stuff that's on there on my page about that astrology video email assignment. I have all the instructions up on my page of what you need to do for the past astrology video. What's the video? Did you like it? How is it relevant still today? What did you get out of it? What did you learn from it? And then the general astrology video, put that link, put the explanation. What did you learn? What did you like about it? Would you recommend this video? Did you enjoy it? And what was it about? And what did you take away from this video that you wouldn't have otherwise taken away from had you not watched that video? And what is something new or maybe surprising that you didn't know about this particular topic that you watched this video about? So that and something else in addition, which I can't remember off the top of my mind, but it's your job to remember that. This weekend, what'll end up happening, because this is how passionate that I feel about bringing stuff back into how things used to be. What used to be is corning. Now, I still have the videos and archives from that, from several times, from a couple of times when all of you were at Corning, and I was at Corning, and I was teaching, and doing my Amenten meetings there, and that's how it used to be, and I'm going to bring that back into today, into 2023, and that means that all of you will be going on buses to Maryville, Missouri, and that's where my grandparents live. Now, this is where there has to be some boundaries drawn in the sand and in the sky. If you can literally draw lines in the sky. I certainly don't want people knocking at the door when unannounced and uninvited. For whatever reason. For whatever reason that I mean that. It's just rude and inconsiderate to just interrupt somebody when they're trying to enjoy their stay with family. And it's very embarrassing. And, as much as I don't like saying this, I think I may alienate you if you would do that. If you would come knocking at the door and asking a question, you and I will literally be strangers. And maybe if you do it a couple times and it becomes really irritating and annoying, I may have to get the police involved. This random person that I don't know is knocking on the door and, disturbing me. And that may sound crazy, but I'm going to be even more blunt than I was a couple of years ago about that. Because if you do it a couple of times, and if you knock on that door a couple of times, asking me a question, bothering me, pestering me about this, then it's very likely that you're going to be met and you're going to probably have to stay there for a certain amount of time, out of sight and out of reach. And then the police could arrive, or I may even call the police and see what is going on, and for you to be delivered to a station so that the issue of this stranger interrupting me, the stranger bothering me, can be sorted out. I'm not going to have that happen, unless I call for any Amenten meetings, unless I myself arrange for an Amenten meeting, then that's the only time that you can come. You can't come separately to ask me any questions other than that. Of course, when we have the Amenten meeting, that's when, if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, then that's the time to tell me and to ask me and to put that out into the air and be really clear about that and what you want clarification on. But other than that, that should be the only time that you come to me and ask questions. What will be happening is, I really want to bring this back. I will be giving my weekly announcements. There will be a meeting on Sunday, depending upon what time it'll probably. It will probably be 10 o'clock in the morning, which will be at a later time, because I know how it goes, because my schedule always gets pushed later when I'm there, including my sleep schedule often gets pushed, because my grandparents are people that sleep later, and and it's not the most kind of structured out, kind of environment. Anyway, and so the only other thing I'm gonna say about that, I don't like to disclose this stuff to you because, anyway, I mean, my progressive moon's in Cancer, so I think if it gets as far, because Cancer deals with family, and it deals with security and privacy, and I'm this verbal about it, well, okay. My grandpa will also be having his third Saturn return within the next 2.5 years because this Saturn's in Pisces as well. Um, anyway, you will be coming, and I will be putting on Amenten meetings for those of you that were at this Amenten way back in 2020, which was some years ago when the whole pandemic struck. And you probably can remember how it went with I mentioned meetings and how I used to do things, and how you used to come to the house and sit in that living room and I would talk and give announcements on that stuff. I will do that again. In that living room, by a desk, by a computer, standing up, filming myself, talking, speaking, presenting my announcements, presenting information, and all of you sitting down and listening and watching. There will be couches, there will be plenty of chairs there. And I'm going to see if, I don't know about the whole screen arrangement. So, what will end up happening is we will see how it goes, because I really want to do this again. I really want to bring this back. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how many people can fit in that room. And you may end up having to just hear me, or you may have to just watch the recording and get caught up in the announcements and email me. Here's the other thing. I will be avid on my email. If you have any other questions, besides when you come to my Amenten, to that house for meetings, this is the other thing I didn't even think about, then please email me. My email. Please email me a question if you have any concern for whatever reason, and I will answer that and email Susan, Daniel, and Linda as well, and they will be sure to answer your questions for whatever you want asking or for whatever concern that you have. But I do want to have at least one meeting over there. Saturday is not going to be the day for that. It is going to be on Sunday, that at 10 in the morning I'm going to be writing the weekly announcements. I'm going to give that information. I'm going to have the papers and all the organization go through what's going to be happening. With that meeting using this phone. I will use my other computer for, Amenten meetings and Amenten stuff, and I used it for one video only because I really wanted to do an Amenten meeting, and that phone was going under some memory was getting cleared off of it. So I just decided to take that chance, and for that one day, it was February 4th when I used my computer for the first time to record a Amenten meeting, and it ended up being a really long, lengthy video. So, I'm not going to plan upon doing that again, actually, for some time, well into the future. So, if I can try, we'll see. But, it will be an Amenten meeting because I don't have any access to that other computer that I use downstairs while doing it. So you will be coming in the living room, and you will be sitting down, and I will be standing up and going through all of the announcements that I have to give to you. about what is going to be going on for the week of February 19th, 2023. So we'll go through those announcements, what's happening, and any other thoughts or feelings or lessons I want to teach, and stories, things I want to share, any other announcements, save for the weekly announcements of the events that will be going on those days, what those days will be about, what the assignments are going to be, what the occasions are going to be for each and every day of that week. So it is going to be at 10 a.m. in the morning that that meeting is going to happen at the house. It is I forget what the address is. It's West Grant Street. But there will be buses that will literally arrive at the at a building, which brings people in, and there's several details that I want to disclose with you about this. So I'm if you could all hold on for some time, I'll be back and I'll talk more about this.